Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. Hey, way over there in Eric's house, that's Eric.
Hey.
And way over there in Vanessa's house, that's Vanessa.
Hello.
And I'm Kelly. We are recording this via Zoom. Well, Vanessa, why don't you tell us why we're recording via Zoom?
Well, you know what? Sometimes people don't feel so good, and that's normal for like winter. But let's say it's not a normal human society and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and said human is terrified that maybe they are extremely contagious and had to go and get a test done. So maybe I just care a lot about you guys and didn't want to murder you all.
So happy to hear that. So
nice.
You got tested.
I did.
And?
I'm negative.
All right. So I'll see you guys up here in 20 minutes and we'll record this.
Yeah, it was actually surprising. I got my results within 24 hours, which was great.
Nice.
But yeah, all negative, all good, just normal sick, just a normal cold. I didn't even know they existed still. So
Did you do one of the free drive-in, like at a Rite Aid or something like that?
actually, it was put on by Washington State and UW and the fire department. So I went down to South Seattle and they like stuck the swab in.
Oh, you got the brain.
Oh my God, my eyes were like pouring. I was just like, breathe. I didn't know my nose went back that far, to be honest. So
And now it does.
Now it definitely does. It took me like an hour to be like, okay, everything's normal. It didn't hurt. It just felt weird.
All right. This is also a crazy episode because at the end of last episode, Eric picked a subgenre, and then we discussed it and realized, oh, we're going to be not just out of Halloween by then, but also this episode will release right after the election. And we were like, how could we pass up the opportunity to take advantage of this?
To go even further into the depths of our American horror nightmare.
Right. So I had said, hey, why don't we do something that has a subgenre that has presidents who have shown up in various genre films, you know, action, horror, all the stuff that we usually talk about. But there are so many films that have presidents in them. Let's talk about presidents we kind of wish we had.
I don't know if I'd go that far with the selection I have, but...
Oh. That was my intent, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just letting the viewers know right now we're not talking about party films this week. We are talking about party films next week.
Yes, we will revisit it. We will get to that subject, but this just is a much better timing for this one.
I think so, yeah. So as we record this, it's Monday. Tomorrow is election day. We release on the Thursday of every week. So we have no idea what the outcome will be, although I think we all have a pretty good idea what the outcome will be.
No, we don't. We have no idea. Everything's crazy. People are buying guns. I don't know what to do. Ah!
Ask me if I'm a gun owner, Vanessa.
Are you a gun owner?
So anyway, I thought that
I'm not a gun owner, but I have a chainsaw, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, there you go.
You're actually way scarier than a gun owner. Hey, you guys, since we last spoke, I watched a movie that was so good it will be on my top 5 of 2020 when we discuss those.
Oh, snap.
Are you going to hold off till then, or do we get a...
No, I'm going to talk about it now and just let you know that I was just so blown away with this. Are you familiar at all with The Wolf of Snow Hollow?
I don't think so.
It was written and directed and starring a guy named Jim Cummings, who made a movie a couple years back called Thunder Road that was really, really good and kind of kind of a dramedy. I hate that word, but I don't know how else to say it. It had some serious things going on, and it had some bizarre humor in it, and I just loved him as an actor. And he played a cop in that. And in The Wolf of Snow Hollow, which he also wrote and directed and stars in as a cop, I watched this movie. It's available only as a rental right now. I would say drop the $5.99 and watch it. It is about a cop in a small town where murders are taking place, and it's clearly a werewolf who is committing the murders, and he is absolutely positive that it is a human doing it.
That was Wolf of what?
The Wolf of Snow Hollow. It also happens to have Robert Forster in his final role.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of a touching portrayal because he's got health problems in the role, and they kind of are very similar to what was going on in his real life. He's amazing. Jim Cummings as a actor has just blown me away. And I'm like, I think I'll probably watch everything this guy does from now on. There's enough gore in this to satisfy any horror fan, I think. There's some really black humor in it. There is a central mystery of, is this a werewolf? Or is this just the story of a police officer who wants very badly to believe that it is not a werewolf? And spoiler, the werewolf reveal when you first see it is pretty fucking awesome. I kind of leaned forward and went, what the fuck? Holy shit, that looks amazing. This is a werewolf movie the same way that Jaws is a shark movie, in the fact that the best part of the movie has nothing to do with the shark. This is a movie about a cop who's got issues, and he just desperately wants to be right. And that's really what propels the whole story. So the murders and everything are kind of secondary to his story. Fuck, I can't say enough about how much I love this movie. And it appears to be polarizing. It doesn't have a huge I didn't look up what the Rotten Tomatoes was on this, but it's got a 6.2 on IMDb. And so clearly some people, this is after 4,000 reviews. So some people are rating it very highly. Some people are rating it very low. And I will say, fuck, I give this a 10 for this year. It's just amazing.
Wow. It's almost, I can see how something like that would sneak by because the title is so it doesn't jump out at you at all. Like I wouldn't ever hear that title and be like, yeah, that sounds like a really interesting film. So I'm really glad you checked it out and are recommending it because I would hate to miss something that good.
Well, I did so much research on this that I saw that screeners went out to film reviewers under the title Werewolf, if that tells you anything. And I think The Wolf of Snow Hollow is a much better title.
Nice.
Well, yeah. So I guess I got to check out something kind of neat this week. Something that just on Halloween showed up on Netflix, I believe, which was His House.
Oh, I've been hearing about this.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting little film. I would say it's pretty good. It didn't blow me away, but I found it to be pretty interesting piece about kind of immigration. It's a guy and his wife who escaped from Sudan, who are trapped in immigration hell in the UK, waiting for, the decision to get made and get temporary visas, but they have to stay in this place. And in the meantime, that place starts to develop strange occurrences, and maybe it's haunted, maybe there's something else in there with them. And of course, they can't leave because if they leave, they have to go back to Sudan. So, or Sudan. So it was definitely a cool premise, and I liked where they went with it. But I wouldn't say it super scared me.
The trailer looked pretty cool. That auto play on Netflix thing. It's like,
You said that it didn't scare you, but are you giving this a recommend then?
I would recommend it for sure. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch. There's been a lot of far worse content. That's not a very good recommendation, but
I've
there
seen
really
worse
is
shit than this. But
no, there is genuinely some really cool stuff in there, and I think they went the extra mile with the story. I feel like the story is actually pretty solid. So
nice.
Cool. It's on my watch list on Netflix.
Well, please.
Well, my Netflix viewing wasn't quite as successful.
Oh, no.
Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. Have either of you seen this one?
No.
Haven't even heard of it.
I wanted to check it out because it's a Polish horror film. I'm like, well, this could be very unique. I am wrong. It's a Polish slasher film. It had, here's some of the kills. Stop me if you've heard this before. Somebody taking their thumbs and jamming it in somebody's eyes.
Ooh.
Somebody in a sleeping bag getting slammed against a tree.
Wait a second.
It is obviously the guy who made this loves American slasher films.
I was going to ask, is this a recent film or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
2020.
Not 1982.
No, it's right in line with that. I mean, it is unfortunately potentially very well made film. The problem is it is so cliche ridden that it's just kind of boring. The killer looks like the way he became the killer. If you really love slashers, I'll leave that out because that's actually kind of fun and interesting. But I ended up watching the dubbed version because I never really heard the Polish language. It's a strange language, especially when it's said really fast. So I've almost found it distracting with some of the characters going, wow. And the dubbing started out really well. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. We'll do this. By the end, they tried to do some heavy emotional stuff, which almost worked, except for some reason, the lady dubbing the lead, the final girl, was really good for a while. But then somewhere 2/3 of the way in, she started not being that good anymore. I'm like, what the hell happened here? I honestly, I don't remember the director's name, but if they come out with something else, I'll probably watch it because it looked good. The acting was good, other than the dubbing wasn't great. And it was accomplished well. It was such a deeply unoriginal story. It's kind of like, yeah, all right. So
this is on Netflix.
Yes. I would say
how did you even find out about it?
Just popped up one of those trailer things. You know, you can do separate things on Netflix. You can have Dina's got a page, I've got a page.
Yeah.
I've also got a horror page. I only watch horror on that one. So all the suggestions and everything lean towards horror. So it's well populated sometimes, and
this
weird
is the most
stuff.
Interesting news I've heard because I didn't know you could do this at all on Netflix.
So,
that's so cool. That's really smart, actually, because I get so frustrated when somebody watches a rom-com on my account and then all of a sudden everything's skewing and I'm like, no,
Yep.
no.
How are they watching something on your account, Vanessa? That sounds illegal.
Because my account is on my TV, which my mom and my sister sometimes watch, and their tastes are not the same as mine. I love them dearly, but no one can be perfect. So
I guess we can let that one go.
You trying to accuse me of something over there, Young? What's up with that?
Yep.
Well, anyway, I downloaded a torrent of. No, I stuck with Netflix. And Eric, I know were into this series. Vanessa, I don't know if you were or not, but I didn't realize that there was a second season that I had never watched of the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated series. And so I watched that and I was kind of blown away. Eric, did you watch both seasons?
I don't know. I watched it a while ago. If they came out at the same time, as together, I probably did.
If you watched it on Cartoon Network did everything they could to hide this series.
Yes, they did.
I mean, they would show them out of order and then switch the nights and all of that shit. So I never knew back when this was coming out that it was coming out with the second season. The second season is crazy in that they actually get into supernatural stuff. There's this very Lovecraftian storyline that basically takes over the entire season, and it makes Scooby the absolute protagonist of the entire series, and that his part is so important to this otherworldly demon and all the various incarnations of the Scooby Gang before. And then
yes,
ends with this amazing fucking finale that is basically it makes you realize, oh, holy shit, every Scooby-Doo series that we watched before, this was a prelude to those. It was a prequel. Basically they end with, oh, let's do this. We're taking a road trip and we'll solve mysteries on the way. And they drive off and you're like, holy shit, this goes right into the 1968 series.
Yes, I did watch that. That was great. Oh, man.
I was just stunned. I was stunned with the acting. I was stunned with Clancy Brown's acting as the very evil demon. I was stunned with who's the German guy we like so much from Andy Warhol's Dracula.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
And he was another vampire in the Blade movies, and he was a main part of the second season, and I just like, wow, this had no right being this good.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that if it hadn't been for the Lovecraft showing that one episode at the festival, I don't think I would have ever heard of it, and that's just ridiculous. This should be sitting up there at the top of any Scooby's fan as one of the best series that has been done by the Scooby group.
If you remember that episode with H.P. Hatecraft being played by Jeffrey Combs, Harlan Ellison plays himself in that episode, and he comes back at the end of season 2. And I was just like, Harlan Ellison, how the hell did they get this grumpy old man to be part of a Scooby-Doo series? I liked it so much that I decided to do a little more research, and I started downloading the collected volumes of Scooby Apocalypse, which are the comic books that take place after an apocalypse has happened and the Scooby Gang is trying to deal with it. It's not nearly as good as, say, the Sabrina comics that Vanessa had turned me on to, but it is still interesting in that it really shows how you can take these characters and reinvent them so many ways from 1968 to 2020.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times those characters are really almost like blank slates for us because they're written so simply. It's easy to kind of dip back in. And I was never a fan of Scooby-Doo, but you're definitely making it sound super interesting.
The series is the Mystery Incorporated series is written for people who maybe were not real fans of the first one. It makes jokes at the expense of all the other episodes.
So my main question, though, is you mentioned that Cartoon Network buried it. Why were they burying it?
Well, with the research I did, I found out that it was not a Cartoon Network show.
Oh.
Cartoon Network bought it after it had been completed. And then when a new regime came in, they were like, why are we promoting this show so well? So they were hiding it everywhere. And it turned out that in every other country except for the US where it was being shown, it was the #1 Cartoon Network show.
Jeez.
What?
Yes.
Oh, so people are dumb sometimes.
Well, it's all politics. Which
Who
ties
wants
it
money?
into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not much of a Scooby fan, and I'm middle-of-the-road Scooby fan, so you probably will like it. I definitely recommend checking it out.
Definitely. No, it sounds good, and I'm finishing up on my Avatar, so I need something to replace that animated section of my life.
Eric, I would suggest you check out the Scooby Apocalypse books because about 6 issues in, they introduce Scrappy, and he's the antagonist of the series.
Shit.
Excellent call. Well done.
Very smart. Fucking Scrappy.
Crappy Doo, yeah.
Crappy Doo. Well, I'm sorry. Kelly, did you just talked about something you saw. Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
Yep.
So I actually been plugging away through my Friday the 13th box set.
Nice.
I've now made it all the way through 6. I know I should have probably finished them all by now, but I'm doing it like one a night rather than just like all, so I can really absorb them.
Like
and
Steven,
really
like our buddy Holitz is doing.
Oh, is that how he's doing it as well?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been really fascinating. It's weird how the franchise goes from like, they'll have a really, really strong one and then like some random piece of shit one. Like, what are you doing, guys? Like, 4 was obviously incredibly strong. And then 5, the people who made that did like nothing. They had like no experience. I'm like, how do you make $1 zillion with 4? And then you're like, let's make another one. Let's not put anyone who knows what they're doing in charge. So I've been having very much a love-hate relationship with this series. It's driving me insane.
Which number is New York? Is that the 7th?
That's
8.
8.
That's 8.
And I actually have seen 8, but
yeah, that's my stinker of the bunch.
I'm a big fan of 6 because that introduces us to undead Jason.
Oh,
yes.
I will always take a supernatural killer over a slasher any day.
Definitely. I think the actual core character of Jason is so kind of lame and also obviously not. I was thinking about how would I explain episodes or film number 6 to anybody. I'm like, okay, you have to explain Jason. Like, first of all, like, okay, not even the actual bad guy, just invented and then shoved in there and then given like a deformity and a hillbilliness and then God knows what. I'm like, he's not even the real villain of the entire thing. And then they try to like retcon it and they're like, yeah, he's been murdering for years. I was like, no, his mom was murdering for years. Thank you very much. He was doing nothing. He was dead, but it's fine. Now he's alive, apparently. And then to explain Tommy, I'm like, I don't even know anymore. So I'm not precious even remotely about living versus dead Jason. I thought 6 was great. It was super fun. They're like, let's have like a work paintball party and murder all of them. It was very good.
Eric, I know at one point we did an episode, BV, that I picked part 7 for my film. Was that a Dead Again episode? Or
I think that was the episode of sequels that are not number 2 in the series or something like that. Like it had to be down the line a ways.
Right. And I actually, Vanessa, if you have any interest, I spelled out a timeline of where these films, how far into the future they end up running and all of that stuff.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
I did a ton of research on it.
I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to go in to dig through the BV ups and pull it out and have a listen because I'm super fascinated. Like, I don't want to do too much research on my own. I feel like sitting through these films is plenty, but
you just watch all the extras too.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll finish sometime next year.
Yeah.
So I had a 5-star challenge film from Jason Weiss.
Okay.
Oh, do we get a 5-star challenge song dropped in?
I'll have to dig that up.
And if this is Jason doing this, did Jason give us a 5-star song? It seems only appropriate that it has to be his song in front of this challenge then.
Here's 5-star movie challenge. Here's 5-star movie challenge.
Santa Sangre is Alejandro Jodorowsky. Some you know it. I got a bunch of his films already. There's an amazing Severin release of it, packed with stuff. So I'll pick it up. Holy shit, what a film. Oh my God. I kind of love this movie. It's a little bit of both. It's full of wild, which isn't unusual for Jodorowsky, but wild religious symbolism, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's got a scene that is, I will give the heaviest of warnings to animal lovers, where this poor elephant is bleeding from its trunk as it's dying, and it's a horrifying scene, followed by a horrifying funeral.
I'm guessing this is a real elephant dying?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's just, it's him, so it's incredibly well done and disturbing. And the way he pulls the camera up, and I was like, God, dude, stop it. But it's a strange story of a family who is in a circus, and the circus is, I think the circus is a US-based circus, but it's traveling in, I believe it's Spain. But the film's in English, very strange sounding English at times. The main guy is a knife thrower, and his son is sort of his apprentice. He's having an affair with a tattooed lady, and he feels his son isn't manly enough at some point, so he decides he's got this giant eagle tattoo on his chest. So he takes the kid into a church, ties him to a chair, takes what looks to be a relatively dull knife and tattoos this thing on the kid's chest. Like, cool. End result, very good work considering it was a knife. But, oh, God, it's...
Guy's an artist.
Yes. It's full of what seems to be a very weird story. But I think... in the end, I haven't researched this at all, so my theory could be wildly off base. But it very much feels like a study of insanity and dealing with childhood trauma. As the kid grows up and has to deal with what his dad did, and tries the knife throwing a little bit, finds his mother whose arms have both been cut off and becomes her murderer. There's not a lot of violence in it, but the stuff that happens is just grisly. I was watching one of the making ofs, and it kind of amounted to, he hadn't made a movie in quite a while at this point, and I forgot what year this was made, but somebody had challenged him to make a film at, I think it was one of the larger festivals, and one of the critics basically came back and said, you get rusty if you haven't done it for a long time. Jodorowsky basically said, sometimes the rusty knife cuts much deeper. Jesus. So he went full challenge, and he made it. It's as weird as it is. It's probably one of his more accessible films because there is kind of a straight storyline, even though it's really weird. It took a couple viewings to get through it because it is really strange and it is kind of a tough watch. But, the people continue to be nice to me with their 5-star challenges. So overall, I did enjoy this, and I always find his work fascinating. So I've got no problem watching a movie by Jodorowsky anytime. So thanks, Jason.
I'm most interested in the fact that you called Jodorowsky and vice versa throughout this entire thing you were talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. I looked up how to pronounce his name. The majority was Jodorowsky, but then there's like 3 or 4 places that said Jodorowsky's fine. But the Spanish people all said Jodorowsky. So, I'm trying to go from there, sort of like, learning to do names better.
It seems like a name that I would only bring up to my snobby film friends. So I'm like, I don't even want to mention this because I have no idea how to pronounce it. I just know I'm going to say, so I watched Jodorowsky's Dune, and they're going to be like, fuck, get out of here, loser. Mm-hmm. All right, you guys, I've been drinking. So how about we take a little break? I can pour myself a little more booze, and then we come back with our presidential candidates. Excuse me, Vanessa.
I just thought you might want a refreshing glass of water because, just...
Oh, to wash my hands with?
Loosen the old gullet there.
We'll be right back.
You must not fail, Zero-M. This mission is critical. Unusual weapon. It is specially designed for counter-espionage, for Agent Zero-M. It's called the Zero-M Sonic Blaster. This is why. It fires a massive blast of compressed air, and this tremendous roar is the actual sound. For training purposes, this special delayed action target comes with it. Get Mattel Mattel's powerful Zero M Sonic Blaster wherever toys are sold. Remember the password, Zero M.
And we are back. I've got another glass of wine here. I hope everybody is drinking along at home. Eric, this was your choice, but then I totally took over and said, why don't we make this presidents and everything? So I guess it became my choice, which means I will go first. Now, if you're listening Thursday, you all know that Kanye West is the new president of the United States. And
All hail Kanye.
that will take a little getting used to, but I think we're all going to be fine. If we made it through Trump, we can certainly make it through Kanye. But I chose an even cooler president, and my film actually is a documentary, I guess I would call it, about a true American hero, and that film is from 2012, FDR, American Badass.
When the werewolf attacked you and bit your leg,
Sick goblins!
you released a small stream of... You've got the polio, Frank. Does my cack still work?
I think the werewolf might have come from Germany.
Motherfucker! Germany, Italy, Japan, my joining forces.
I say we go to war.
You are preaching to the gas chamber on this one.
I call this the Delano 2000. We must blast their fucking asses!
Let's get wet.
How in the world are we going to storm the beaches of Normandy, take down an entire army of werewolves, and still make it to a French titty bar by last call?
I present Douglas MacArthur, Chief of Staff of the United States Army.
Dougie Mack.
This is Commander Winston Churchill.
This is General Dwight Eisenhower.
Mussolini.
Hitler.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Albert Einstein, the real jackass.
Shut the fuck up, Einstein!
Play it, play up, pimp to pimp. I appreciate it.
I'm a motorcycle of death. I ain't got no sidecar.
Damn you, Frank!
We have nothing to fear but Marco Polio. Fear itself.
I remember you telling me about this one.
Oh, you remember me telling you, but you never watched it.
I watched it.
Oh, okay.
No,
Vanessa, I'm going to guess you're not familiar with this.
I did come across it when looking up a film for this project because it was hard to find any. So I did see it crop up, but completely ignored it. So.
Well, this piece of cinema is is basically the life story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. For the budget, I could find no information. For the box office, I could also find no information. I'm guessing that's because it was not released to theaters. The Rotten Tomatoes critics, though, still no information. But the audience has it at barely rotten 58%.
Oh, nice.
This was directed by Gareth Braywith, who has one other credit that was nothing I'd ever heard of, but 32 acting credits, including such luminaries as Darnell Dawkins, mouth guitar legend, Poseidon Rex, and Jurassic City. It was written by Ross Patterson, who has written a bunch of very stupid movies you've never heard of, and is an actor in even more of those kind of movies, including this film. It stars Barry Bostwick, who has 182 credits, including Megaforce, Weekend at Bernie's 2, but will always be recognized as Brad from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, Brad.
He's Franklin Delano Roosevelt in this. It also stars Lynn Shay, who has 208 credits, including Critters, There's Something About Mary, you know her if you know her, Ouija, Origin of Evil, but really hit her stride with Blumhouse's Insidious movies, all 5 of them that she stars in. She is the lady who the ghost hunters bring in. You've seen her in every Blumhouse movie, basically. I will just mention these other cast members who you would recognize. I'm not going to say everything they've done, but Bruce McGill, Ray Wise, Kevin Sorbo, Richard Reel, and Jesse Merlin are just part of this kind of impressive cast for a really, really low budget, stupid movie. And let me just say, this movie is stupid. But I laughed so hard through this entire fucking film that when I thought that I might pick this movie and decided to put it on just for a few minutes to see if this is the one I was going to pick, I started giggling uncontrollably and thought, yes, I have chosen absolutely the right film for this. So it starts with Governor Roosevelt, who is a man's man and a badass, if there ever was one. And he's out hunting with some buddies, and they come across a werewolf.
Of course, as one is wont to.
Yes, this werewolf attacks. He's able to kill it, but not before it bites him, and he is stricken with polio.
Oh, that's how he gets polio.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew that's how you get polio, Vanessa. You seem surprised.
I am surprised. I didn't study medicine, but now I know.
Okay.
And I'm going to tuck that away in my knowledge space.
That makes sense. This werewolf that attacked him was actually sent by Nazis to eliminate him.
Oh.
But guess what? The plan backfires. His resolve is only strengthened by adversity, and he goes on to become president and takes a hand-on approach to defeating the Axis werewolves in World War II.
Oh my God.
That's basically the plot of this movie. Now, let me just get into a few things that I really, really, really loved about it. First of all, if you can't stand cripple jokes, walk it off.
Ew.
That's the kind of humor you're going to find in this movie. At one point, FDR comes out and is talking to the crowd, and he taps his useless legs with his cane while he's sitting in his wheelchair, and he says, "Marco, polio."
Oh no!
This is the kind of humor we're dealing with. Every time we see his legs, they are played by a small child who is wiggling their legs, so it's just a close shot of the legs, and they look completely ridiculous, and that's because they're completely ridiculous.
Oh my God.
It then documents his attempting to become president, all of the glad handing and everything he's doing to get votes, all of this stuff. It's pretty impressive in that it actually follows closely the people that he meets in real life, and they're played ridiculously like he is. When he wins the presidential election, this is my favorite scene in the movie.
Okay.
The family is gathered around the radio listening. The results come through, and the entire family goes apeshit. And when I say apeshit, I mean Roosevelt grabs a pitcher of milk that is on the fireplace mantle, and he pours it all over his head and rips off his shirt and starts screaming while they're all partying and dancing around. His wife, Eleanor, who is played by Lynn Shay, this is so funny because Lynn Shay has become kind of a serious actress, and you watch this or you watch something like There's Something About Mary, and you realize the sense of humor she must have about everything, including herself, is amazing because she reaches down out of sight of the camera. You see her fiddling with something, and then she just rips up her panties, which she then starts throwing around. But my favorite part is their son, who comes in and he's hooting and hollering. He grabs a vase. He dumps the flowers out. He puts the vase on the floor. He pulls his pants down, and then he struggles and shits into the vase. This is how excited he is about this.
Wow.
I could not stop laughing. Part of it was, what am I watching? Part of it was, I'm watching the funniest movie I've seen in a long fucking time. Look, this is a certainly this is an acquired taste of a film, but if you don't like it, I would say that you're probably a communist, as FDR would say. So he leads us out of the Great Depression by killing all the werewolves that are bringing blood-laced wine and liquor into the country. And he has to do this because he wants to get rid of prohibition. So as you can see, this film takes on a, I don't even know if I would call it satirical, a humorous look at real events that happened in our history and applies werewolves to all of them, because every time we see the Axis powers coming together, Hitler is a werewolf, Mussolini is a werewolf, Hirohito is a werewolf, and they are all making plans on how to destroy America. At one point, he gets super high with a joint that was left in the White House by Abraham Lincoln. And he gets wasted and floats into the sky with Abraham Lincoln, being played by Kevin Sorbo, no less. And they go and look at all the important things that will happen. Lincoln is pointing out, hey, there's the Lincoln Memorial. And Roosevelt's like, hey, are they going to make a memorial of me? And he says, no, but they're going to name a shit ton of high schools after you. So... like I said, this is the kind of humor we're dealing with. Roosevelt sleeps with his assistants, and then he ends up killing all these werewolves in a very impressively tricked out wheelchair that is created by Harry Truman, played by Ray Wise, that has machine guns and missile launchers connected to it. I will say this, and look, if you've been listening to this, you might be going, Kelly's fucking around with us and everything. But I will say this, no lie. This is absolutely Barry Bostwick's best acting performance. This entire film relies on him carrying the movie. His timing is hilarious. He is giving the most ridiculous dialogue and scenes, and he's right up there with, why can't I think of his name, The Naked Gun and Airplane, Leslie Nielsen. He's right up there with he plays everything super straight. It's just, there's absolutely no budget to back him. So, but everybody does a pretty good job because you're dealing with good actors and all that stuff. So I just was like, oh my God. Look, is there some racist humor? Sure, Vanessa. It was a different time, okay? It was 2012. It was 2012.
We had a black president, so I guess it's fine.
There are lots and lots of dick and fart joke. This is humor for the masses. None of the mamby-pamby politically correct humor of today. So I will say this, and it's not just because I have had an entire bottle of wine. This movie comes highly recommended.
Is there a hint in the way you said that word?
I'm not a partaker of marijuana, only because I apparently can't. I've also documented the fact that I have like weird fucking anxiety when I take it. Yeah. But I imagine that if you liked to get high and watch stupid shit, you would be hard pressed to find something stupider than this. This movie, fucking great. And I will preemptively, much like Trump will, say that I already have won this.
Whoa.
You know what? That is not a stretch prediction. I think he said that already today.
All right, who's next?
Vanessa?
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm going to be following you up with a very similar concept, a very similar title, a very similar-ish movie, which is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
And I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. And I looked, and behold, was death, saying, "Come and see."
History prefers legends to men. It prefers nobility to brutality. Soaring speeches to quiet deeds. History remembers the battles. but forgets the blood. However, history remembers me before I wasn't president. It shall only remember a fraction of the truth.
And hell followed him.
There is darkness everywhere, Mr. Lincoln.
My mother was murdered. I can see her rage burning.
Tip the balance for the good of all mankind.
I shall kill them all.
It's time we had a nation of our own. This war ends tonight. Only the living can kill the dead.
Yes.
Another documentary about one of our founding fathers.
Pretty much a 1-to-1. They really went nuts hard into the history of this.
I'm guessing it has a larger budget than Kelly's film.
Yeah, so actually the budget was somewhere between 69 and 100 million, depending. Yeah, just a little bit. It's a pretty high budget movie. It's based off of a book, and the author of both the screenplay and the book is this guy named Seth Grahame-Smith, and he had also written Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So I think that's why they already had a budget, because like that guy was already like blowing up the shelves, and they knew they had a good property on their hands.
Starring Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln.
And
Sure.
that kid from The Boys in the Trees. Nice.
So yeah, actually, sadly, the box office was 116.4 worldwide.
Ooh.
So they really didn't make much of a splash. I mean, unless you go with the 69 number, but because they did it for 3D, I think that's why it was probably closer to 100 rather than that weird floating other number. So they probably made very little off of this. Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a solid 50% from audience and 34% from critics.
Yay.
But it's got some really good names behind it as well. So much like yours, Kelly, I don't know why you would sign up for a movie like this. I really don't. But people
Here's your check.
Right.
I guess so. But I get the sense that, I mean, I don't know, like it just feels like stronger talent was in it than you would think would want to do it. So it was directed by Timur Bekmambetov. He's from he's a Kazakhstan / Russian film director. So excuse my pronunciation. He has 20 credits under his name, including Night Watch, Day Watch, and Ben-Hur.
Oh, fuck. I loved Night Watch and Day Watch to a lesser extent.
Yeah, so it's that guy.
Okay.
He also did one Linkin Park music video. He's definitely gone more into producing, so he's done about 50 producing titles. The producer, however, of this was Tim Burton. So, yeah.
That's an interesting combination of filmmakers there.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And then, like I said, the writer was Seth Grahame-Smith, who, interestingly enough, just wrote Beetlejuice 2. He also had written Lego Batman and Dark Shadows, and he has started doing producing himself and produced Gremlins 3. So I guess there's some films coming out. Be aware.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, that's true. We'll see. We'll see what happens now. The stars in this, again, pretty interesting. Oddly, like the guy who plays Abraham Lincoln is the least known to me. Benjamin Walker, who was Travis in The Choice, that great movie, The Choice, one of those like Nicholas Spark washed through films. He was also Eric Geldin in Jessica Jones, which is probably the only thing that I could say is recognizable for him. His mentor is played by Dominic Cooper, who some of you will know as Willoughby in Sense and Sensibility, the TV miniseries from 2008.
Oh, of course.
Or he was the hot guy Sky from Mamma Mia. Or he was Howard Stark in Captain America: First Avenger, and also Jesse in Preacher. So
okay, now you said something that I'm like, oh, I recognize who this guy is.
I'm doing a thing. I'm leading you to.
The last toss away one was the one. Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I know he's actually super good. Also, we had Anthony Mackie, who's Falcon in Avengers, is in it as like Abraham's long-term like best friend.
Okay.
Historically, possibly not super accurate. Moving right on.
Why would that be, Vanessa?
I looked up who the guy they said he was kind of based on was, and I was just curious because I was like, was Abraham Lincoln's best friend a black gentleman? He was not. Oh. It's unfortunate. wishful history. And then we also have Jimmy Simpson, who is super recognizable. And you're like, who is this guy? Like, he's playing like a shopkeeper / other friend who may or may not possibly betray Abraham. You're just like, you can never tell if he's going to like do something evil. And that guy is William in Westworld, which is the young version of perhaps somebody else in Westworld.
Ah,
yes.
Okay,
yes.
I like that guy.
He's pretty cool. He's also he plays a character called Walton in the episode USS Callister of Black Mirror. If you guys remember that one, that's the one where they do like a Star Trek-y thing.
Yep.
Mary Todd is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, aka Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim. Also, I did not remember this, but she plays Lucy McLean in like a bunch of Die Hard films. I was like, you were the daughter. You were cast as the daughter in like the crappy newer ones. Very exciting. And then we have the original vampire, the like big baddie. Rufus is played by Rufus Sewell, who you guys would know is in a million things, but you guys would know as John Murdoch in Dark City. So the lead. And last but not least, uncredited for some unknown reason that I was trying to figure out, and I'm not quite sure why, Alan Tudyk.
Lucky Alan.
Yeah, Wash from Firefly. I don't know why he's actually pretty well prominently featured in this film. I don't know if he was like, hey, actually, never mind, I don't want to be credited in this, because he does kind of play a racist, but I don't know. I'm not sure, but he's like Mary Elizabeth Winstead's, aka Mary Todd's like original fiance before Abraham shows up. So a little bit of the plot. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead with all these characters. It is a alternative, shall we say, retelling of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States of America. As a child, his mother is murdered by a vampire. He vows revenge, but his father won't let him do it, so he has to wait until his dad dies, and then he is on a revenge path to go and find the vampire that done killed his mom, and tries to kill a dude who is the vampire who he somehow magically finds pretty easily, but the guy doesn't die because he is a vampire, and oh my god, actually that memory from your childhood is real and vampires are real. And then out of nowhere comes Dominic Cooper, aka Henry Sturgis, who beats the living crap out of him on a dock, not Abraham the vampire, and he says, if you want to really do this, I've got to train you. We gotta train up, and you can be my assistant vampire hunter dude. So there's like a training montage where like Abraham Lincoln like learns how to spin his axe, which is, it's beautiful. It's so good. It's so good. And then he has to like learn how to spin it in the dark, and like Dominic Cooper's like, and the vampires are going to do this to you and that to you, and watch out. And so like he has to like go through, he's showing up each day like progressively more and more beat up, but he's like loving it, and he's like, yeah, this is my life now. So he gets sent off deep into the south of the United States to go and start to hunt down vampires because they have taken over huge swaths of the South. In fact, perhaps they might be a huge part of slavery. Maybe.
Fucking vampires.
Fucking vampires, man. Who'd have thought? So he's undercover and he gets a job as a shopkeep. And of course, Mary Todd walks in one day with her loser fiance, who I actually thought was her dad for a long time. They didn't make it super clear. So for half the movie, I was like, man, like Alan's like a really young dad for her, but also way too old of a fiance. So it was a weird, anyway. And slowly he starts to get more and more absorbed. He is killing vampires like he's supposed to, but he's getting more and more absorbed into the politics of the day. And he becomes like a really great orator and does the soapbox thing, and then goes into, becomes the president eventually. Meanwhile, his mentor, Dominic Cooper, is super pissed about it. And he's like, you promised me you would have no ties to the world. You would be like my undercover assassin. Shit gets real. We learn there are more bigger, eviler vampires out there. There are a ton of vampire fights. Big, epic, spectacular fights. Oh my God, you guys. It is basically a disaster film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because what the actual fuck? Like at one point they're like fighting on top of fucking horses and like the vampires like throwing horses at Abraham Lincoln during a stampede, and this should look crappy, right? Like it really should look pretty bad because even with all the money in the world, CGI, if you don't spend the right time and if you don't have like Pixar or some shit like under your belt, it's not going to go well for you. But they figured out the exact right way to do it, which is put some kind of element in there that causes it so you can't see clearly. So during the stampede, there's a giant dust, like, I don't know what the right word is, dust up. A bunch of dust comes up and like, so you can see these things happening, but your eye isn't like upset that the horses don't look like horses. Like you can see enough pieces of horses that you're still in it. And this is consistent. So there's a giant train fight at one point where they're like fighting on top of train cars and like they go over a bridge and the bridge is like on fire because one of the vampires underneath is like, we're going to stop all this silver getting to the front lines because apparently vampires die from silver, and so that's going to help like turn the tide. Anyway, so they've got all the silver on a train cart. They're trying to get to the south to help the soldiers kill the vampires, and so the vampires are trying to destroy the tracks, and they're fighting on top and leaping from tie to tie, and it looks amazing because there's like smoke and the fire, and like you just don't even. Oh my God, the fights are so good. The fights are so good. Things I love about it, obviously, like I said, CGI, it's really energetic, it's really intense, and there's so much axe. There's so much axe work in this. Like, I didn't think I was going to want to enjoy it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this film, but between the disastrous, like, chaotic fight scenes and, like, fucking axe work, it's so good, you guys. It's the best axe work I've seen since Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you've been watching the Friday the 13th movies.
There's so little effort in that, though. Just like smack, done. So this is like twisting and maneuvering, and then the back end is perhaps a shotgun at one point. Oh my God. So good.
Wow.
I think the acting throughout is pretty solid. There are just a lot of really good moments throughout this film, like just weirdly good scenes that it's so much better than it has any right to be. But I need to caution you, there are some problems. It doesn't feel like there's a cohesive through line. Like it feels like there's these really cool moments, but the actual like it feels like they took the timeline of Lincoln's life and they took a bunch of like cool concept ideas on note cards and just kind of shoved them underneath moments. They're like, yeah, it'll make sense. So some of the connective tissue, especially like emotionally, just isn't there. So either they never wrote it or they cut the crap out of this film. The alternative storyline to slavery is hella fucking awkward. I don't know that it is possible to take, I don't know. It's just the whole time you're like, cool, so sleep, okay. Like, it's just weird the way they try to handle it. I never felt comfortable with the way they were trying to work slavery into this vampire plot. And then like Harriet Tubman just shows up at one point and I'm like, what is going on? Yes. And there's like an underground railroad, but it's like used to like fight the vampire. Oh, okay. It's cool, but also horrible at the same time. I never felt good about it. Okay, the lead fail, the guy who is playing Abraham Lincoln, he's a bit milky. He's a little bit milquetoast. I don't know if you guys have heard that term before, but he's just not, I didn't find him super strong. I think he made a perfectly fine Abraham Lincoln, but I wanted somebody with like fucking definition in his face and like a little bit more grizzled. And this guy was just a little bit like just flat in all kinds of ways. I don't know. I wasn't in love with him, but all the actors around him were super good. And the vampire rules are super weird. So we all know as movie viewers and horror fans what the rules of vampires are. I don't think this film does. I think this film might be a little confused in points, such as I mentioned earlier. I mean, yes, I've heard silver can harm vampires, but did you know vampires can walk in the sun? They just need steampunk glasses to do it.
Oh, it's their eyes that are
maybe
affected.
They never really tell you. I just kind of put it together that they were always wearing these steampunk glasses, and so I guess they're vampires. And then, but they're fine. They can hang out. They sit there on the like porch drinking their tea, like, oh yes, I'm having a good old time in the sunlight. So that's odd. But the worst thing about this entire film truly is the end credit music. Who I was like, the end credits came up and I was like, what is this song is so bad. It sounds like a piece of shit Linkin Park song. It is a Linkin Park song.
Well, the director had access.
Yes. And that's what I found out upon research for this. So at the time I'm shocked I was able to recognize a modern Linkin Park tune, as it were. A couple of small fun facts on this. Rufus Sewell had never played a vampire before and didn't understand how to like use the bitey teeth stuff. So on the first like, I'm gonna bite you scene, he broke all of the teeth. And Edgar Allan Poe was meant to be an important character, but that part of the film was cut. It apparently veers away pretty far from the book. So if you're a fan of the book, go ahead and watch the film because apparently there will not be that many spoilers. It was sent to cinemas under the codename Bloody Honest, and Trent Reznor was approached about scoring and playing a minor part, but it leaked, so they decided to pass without the element of surprise at hand. Tom Hardy was approached for the role of Lincoln, but had to turn it down due to a scheduling conflict with The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. And basically a ton of other people were potentially going to be Lincoln, including Eric Bana, Adrian Brody, Josh Lucas, just quite a few different people. But Ben Walker was cast.
Huh. You didn't read the book?
No.
Neither did I, but this was at a time when there was a ton of these kind of books coming out, and it was a very popular thing. I wonder if some of the stuff that you felt was uncomfortable was explained better in the book, because I seem to recall the book was pretty heavy. Oh, there's a mute button.
You can use it, sir.
I mean, there is.
You know, I didn't. So it came out in 2012.
Same year as FDR, American Badass.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think that there was, and then Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
That was before it.
Yeah, that was the one that kicked it off.
That was
right.
Oh no, that was 2016 that they made a film for it though.
Well, yeah, but the book.
But the book did, yeah, the book. So the books really got the motor juices running, I guess.
I'd forgotten they did a movie on that one.
Yeah, they got to it. I didn't see that one though. Maybe I should. I don't know.
I will just do one small nerdy thing for the one other person who caught this. You said that Dominic Cooper played Howard Stark in a Captain America movie, I believe.
Yes.
And that's not true. Dominic Cooper played Howard Stark in the Agent, what was the female agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the 30s?
Captain America First Avenger?
No.
Yeah, he did not play that in that film.
From IMDb.
I'm only telling you that because Dominic Cooper is also the lead in Preacher. And I've got a bit of a man crush on him because he's so dreamy. And he played Howard Stark, the same character, in the TV series of Eric, who was the female agent?
I know who you're talking
Agent
about.
Carter.
Yes, thank you.
So he played that same character in Agent Carter of Mars.
No, not that one.
But the actor who played Howard Stark played him in several films in the Marvel cinema.
No. Young version of Howard Stark, not the one from Mad Men. I know who you're talking about.
Mad Men? I'm just telling you.
When you go back in time, remember he goes back in time and sees how his dad, had the deal.
Not Dominic Cooper. I'll only bet you one full-size pizza encrusted with $1 million of diamonds.
Okay, you're right. Not that scene. You're right. But no, they do go show back in like the 40s or whatever. Like Howard Stark comes in at one point. He's like, he's got the shield, doesn't he? Isn't that like?
But that's not Dominic Cooper.
That one is Dominic Cooper. Hold on. I'm freaking going to Dominic Cooper, Captain America. I'm getting pictures of him standing next to Captain America, sir.
I feel bad about the listeners who have to hear us argue.
I'm just saying. I don't even. Can I screen share with you?
Yeah, I'm seeing him here. He's played by two actors. One of them is the TV actor. I value our friendship more than right, so I'm going to let you have this.
Please let me have it.
But you're wrong.
I'm not. I'm looking at the picture right now.
Oh, good Lord, you two. Jesus.
Oh
Eric Margaret's network bandwidth is low.
Anyway, so Eric, if you would like to tell us
who's right in this argument, that'd be great.
I haven't a freaking clue, and my level of giving a shit is kind of low by now.
I assume Ron Forbick or Jason Weiss or Danny Williford or Bob Hale will tell us who's right, and it'll be me.
No, it won't be you.
If you go rent the movie she's talking about, and then you can screenshot your own shots.
It's all here in my head.
Anyways. Moving on.
Oh no, we're getting chat messages pop up now.
Oh my God. Anyway, Eric, what president did you look into?
I don't care.
It's almost, we're not debating, but it's so funny. I'm more worked up right now in this conversation than I have been about arguing presidential stuff in like months.
See, I'm glad that I can take your minds off it.
Error. Invalid size parameter. Your link sucks.
Oh my God.
I'm looking at it. This is a very good Photoshop.
Don't you even do that. Don't you even do that.
Eric, will you please tell us what you picked?
Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. No, not really.
Oh my gosh.
That is a real movie.
That looked interesting.
It did screen at Crypticon.
Did it really?
Yeah, same year.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
no. The movie I picked is, again, we're going with werewolves. The Werewolf of Washington. Oh my God.
I will just say this. I've looked on his IMDb, and it appears he was in Captain America First Avenger.
I just have to occasionally. I don't always have to be right, guys. I don't always have to be right. But if I'm actually right, I want to be right.
Vanessa, it feels good to be right over your friends, doesn't it?
Once in a while.
I hope that you feel good about this.
I do. It's so rare. I'm going to hold on to it like a snuggly warm blanket in a winter night.
End the Zoom call.
I'm leaving this Zoom call right now.
Nobody's going to care what I watched.
Everyone cares. I care. Tell me what you watched.
Too, Eric.
Anyways, The Werewolf of Washington, 1973.
That it could happen in America. That it could happen now. That it could never happen to me. Another murder tonight. At Watergate. My apartment.
You must issue the order that he be taken alive.
The moon hasn't risen yet. Put a guard on me.
I got you all beat on the Rotten Tomatoes. I'm dead. I can't hear any. You can't hear me. We're paused. We're back. Okay. Are we back? Are you here? You there?
He's frozen out.
He's so upset.
This is yes.
He's
This
so
is a
upset
disaster.
that the internet has frozen.
And anyways, Werewolf of Washington, 1973.
Oh.
Rotten Tomatoes, 0 score from critics. 14 from everybody else.
Oh.
It's a winner. Not surprisingly, it's available on Tubi or Shout TV. Both free. The Shout TV version, I don't know if this is true of Tubi, is a Elvira Presents Werewolf of Washington.
So it's interrupted with like little breaks with her talking about shit. Yeah.
Yes, where she's running for president. You know, bonus presidential stuff. It's directed by Milton Moses Ginsburg. Heard of him?
No. Oh, no.
He directed some movie called Kron, but he did win an Oscar for editing Down and Out in America in the 80s. So, okay.
Huh. All right. That's weird.
Yeah, he also wrote it. It stars Caitlin Kelly. No, you haven't heard of her. She's done nothing else. Henry Ferrentino, who was in a very strange film I ranted about one time long ago, BV, called Blood Rage.
Ooh.
And Dean Stockwell.
We like Dean Stockwell?
Yeah.
From Owl's Beef, Jag, and 204 other things.
I was going to say Al's beef if you didn't mention that one.
All of which are probably better than Jag.
Poor Jag.
That's right. Anyway, reporters had an affair with the daughter of the U.S. president is sent to Hungary. I don't know. There, he's bitten by a werewolf. Then goes back to Washington and proceeds to attack people. One thing that's cool, it opens up with a shot of him looking at a wolf's head, silver-topped cane. Are you not hearing me again? Hello?
Place to freeze.
Oh my God.
There he is.
What is going on tonight? This is going to be fun to edit together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But anyways, I was saying, it opens up with a wolf's head cane. Like, all right, somebody knows their werewolf history. Dean Stockwell plays like a secondary tier government official, gets in a car wreck, gets bit by a werewolf that looks surprisingly like a black lab. They didn't even get a large, impressive wolf to bite him. It really looks like maybe a 2 or 3 year old black lab.
Wait a second. I think I might have missed what the budget on this was.
I have no idea. You didn't miss it. I didn't say.
I'll take a guess. $6,000.
Oh, Jesus.
The cost of a new black lab puppy.
There you go. Just enough to play Dean Stockwell to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he kills the wolf, the dog. Oh no, it's a person. What will I do? Anyways, so he hangs out in Hungary for a while. Shit goes down, not much though. The filmmakers seem to have no clue what an eye light is.
Oh no.
Almost every scene in the dark, and there's a few of them, especially at the beginning, nobody has eyes. Well, it's just these weird, hollowed out looking eyeballs. All right, guys, let's stop with it. At least stop having the overhead light if you're not going to use an eye light, because, wow, everybody looks terrible.
Oh.
There is voiceover work that happens in the middle, which is supposed to be he runs into a gypsy, of course, because it's, werewolf show. There's a voiceover where she's explaining what the werewolf stuff curse he has to deal with because he didn't believe her. But the voiceover's done by Dean Stockwell. So, you can tell by the words he's saying that he's speaking as her, but it's very weird. Dean's a big fan of the current president, calling him a cross between Lincoln and Jesus.
Wow. Wait a second. Are they dealing with the 70? Whoa. 1973, you said?
Scared the crap out of the cat. Sorry about that. Sorry, cat.
Did you?
Oh, boy. We all need to be at Kelly's, don't we?
You said this was 73. So is the president Ford at that time?
It is a parody of the Nixon White House.
Oh, and so he's saying basically that Nixon is a cross between Jesus and Lincoln, yes. Did you say?
Well, he's a nondescript president. The president there is very much not anybody. Doesn't look like anybody, but the way they talk and the timing of the film, and from what the director tries to say, is that it is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be right post after Nixon's been removed from office. Couple inaccuracies and historical notes beyond the obvious. The Oval Office is square. So, they're going to put a lot of effort into that.
That's why they call it that.
The 1973 film, torn from the headlines of today. Politicians hate the news, liberals, and planning to stack the court to win their battles. I'm like, holy shit, not much has changed. Here's one of the great lines from this movie. Let me give you an indication of the writing quality. Jack, Jack, Jack. I think it could be your friend, Jack. I would like to be. Jack, 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 Jack. A wolf howl. Jack, Jack, Jack.
Wow.
And I think I missed a few Jacks in here.
Oh.
Dean Stockwell finally turns into a werewolf. And you know what? The werewolf's actually kind of neat looking. Sort of has a Hammer style look to the wolf. And he's wearing a suit. So it's like, all right. Politicians are also apparently police detectives in Washington, D.C. at this time. They run into a crime, and one of the lesser intelligent politicians is trying to get a statement from the black men that viewed it, and he goes, "Did you see who was running away?" Well, I think I did. Was it a black man? His response, "No, it was a werewolf, you racist pig."
Oh my God.
So, you know, there's some stuff going on in this film that's worth watching. They do
I think we lost you for a little bit there, but I like where you came back in on my end at least.
Oh, nice. Racist pig.
Yep. Same.
The part of the movie where I truly started to enjoy it was when they are down in, they sort of recreate Nixon's bowling alley. And one of the bowling pins or the bowling ball gets stuck. So they both walk down the alley, and they're just walking through the gutters in this weird sort of horse stance walk. And the sound is hilarious because it's just like, and they're talking through it. And it's like, I don't know what is going on with this scene, but it's cracking me the hell up. And then if there's a scene or two that go, I think he's trying to be satirical, which means, you know, he wasn't terribly successful at it, but the attempt was there. The president is a complete moron. And for some reason now we have Frankenstein's monster laying on the slab with a little person, Dr. Frankenstein. They don't call him that, but that's what the creature looks like.
What?
What is this? The doctor makes friends with the wolf and pets his head. It's very cute.
Aww.
I mean, this movie's weird, man. Apparently the doctor works directly with the president, but the president has absolutely no idea what he is doing. And the doctor basically shuts the door in the guy's face and walks away. So, you know, president don't matter. And Dean is wonderfully over the top, but at times he has his cage moments. According to the filmmaker, the film is a satire on politics in Washington during the early 1970s, mainly prompted by Watergate. The movie was shot in 4 weeks, primarily around Glen Cove and Long Island. I was a little surprised that they actually did go into Washington and shoot a few scenes there, because it's very obvious on a few scenes where Dean's walking to the White House, where he's walking directly to the White House. Picture the shot of the White House, you always know. He's walking a straight line right down the middle to go to that front door. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. The bowling alley that's at the basement of a church to recreate Nixon's bowling alley. It's like, oh, whatever you need, man. The initial reaction to the script by one of the producers was, are you out of your mind? This is an attack on the president. The script is yours. Don't ever show up here again.
Oh.
But I was sorry. The director actually went on to edit a lot and won 2 Academy Awards, one for Down and Out America and the other for a film called The Personals, both documentaries. Let's see. As far as the director knows, there's only a single print of this film in existence at the Berkeley Art Museum and Pacific Film Archive. The director was only able to, until Shout Factory came along, he was only able to get a DVD from Germany. That's how he has a copy of his own movie, is he got it in Germany.
Wow.
There's 2 small interesting roles. There's James Tolkien, who you may not necessarily recognize the name, but he's the principal from Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
And he looks about the same. So, no, I don't think he ever did have hair. Michael Dunn, who plays the Dr. Frankenstein, was the little guy in Star Trek. The Star Trek episode where they're on the kind of like a Greek, Roman, or something like that planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's the little person, that was him.
Oh, okay.
Studio they put together to put this out was Diplomat Pictures. And with that pointless and not that interesting fact, I wrap up my discussion on the Werewolf of Washington.
Well, what you didn't get to was, did you like the film?
Parts of it. It had enough moments of so bad it's good to be entertaining. It starts rough. Oh, man. After about 15 minutes, I'm like, but I'm saying, okay, Elvira picked this for a reason. So at some point, it's probably going to come together. And that Jack line, and then the walking down the bowling alley, just, okay, I can watch the rest of this. That scene is so ludicrous and so long that is just like this. Maybe this is actually brilliant satire that I just don't quite understand because I wasn't around when Nixon was in office.
I'm shocked you stuck with this film all the way to the end. Because I mean, I know I'll torture myself just because that way I get angry. But I don't know. I'm surprised. It sounds like it's a really good, so bad it's good movie.
It has its moments. It is, it's no Bruno film.
Bruno Matteli. I'm going to guess that the satire is not so brilliant that you could. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that is probably not what happened here.
Yeah, it's probably a safe assumption. Especially since my moment when I realized that satire was not reviewing it. It was going, is this supposed to be satirical? I don't know. Sort of like reading The Onion right now. I'm not sure if they're satire honest. or
sometimes when you're just reading an article going, is this The Onion? What am I reading?
Yes. I've had that more often lately.
Well, all right, guys. This was kind of fun. A spur of the moment choice for the time we are living in. So if your choice for president did not win, hopefully we've given you 3 other choices you can watch and have a good time with.
There you go.
Absolutely.
What will our next subject be?
So, Eric, what will our next subject be?
How about party films?
Yay, party films.
Let's just remind the people what your idea with this was.
The idea is that you're at a party and you can put on this movie and people are going to enjoy it. It may not be the greatest film. They may even take a break from watching it and come back later, but it must be fun.
So when we record this next episode, let's do it at my place, you guys. Yeah. Vanessa, you are healthy.
I'm healthy.
I'll pretend that I haven't had a scratchy throat for the last couple of days, and we'll do it live.
As long as you're still tasting your wine.
Bill O'Reilly would say.
Yeah. So does that mean we're doing it at the weekend, or like when are we?
Yeah, guys, we haven't wrapped up the episode yet.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Oh, sorry. Yes, that too. I guess we should actually wrap up the.
So with that being said, Vanessa, many thanks to all the people who are always constantly supporting us. And you know who you are. I can't remember all your names because I've been drinking a lot tonight. But it's the same people that I mention at the end of every episode.
Thanks, you guys. You know who you are.
And with that, I say, get the hell out of my house.
I do. Okay.
All right.
Done.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you next week. We're talking party movies for realsies this time.
See ya.
Our podcast is recorded at Eric's house and Vanessa's house and Kelly's house and is engineered and edited by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever fine podcasts are found.